suspicious guy.
Good evening, everybody. This is the July 26th Board of Selectmen meeting, and since Jim Salvi, the chair, is absent, I, being the clerk, am going to chair the meeting this evening. The first thing on the agenda is public input. If anyone would like to raise anything to add to the agenda, or?
I have a general item from the school committee in that the high school space study task force has received a demographic study describing the projected population in the schools, and I believe it is on the Space Studies website, and I think the selectmen will be getting a copy forwarded to them in the coming week or so. And I think that pretty much concludes the Space Study Task Force efforts, and they will expire.
And then will expire. Okay.
Is there any scheduled discussion yet?
Not at
school
the
committee?
school committee, and our next meeting is August 20-something, so I'm not sure if it's on
Take the
agenda.
summer off. What a quaint idea. Thank you.
So I have a question. Carol Suro, if we need to do that. I have a letter from Susan Winkler that's gone out to you, and I don't know if you've received it as yet. And this is regarding her request, and it would be our request as well, for the results of the testing that were performed by Stamsky and McNary today on the two lots that we're talking about for.
I did receive an email, but I replied, I do need a signature on that request.
She wrote it.
Okay,
I'm just
great.
reading her letter.
Okay.
You should have it, but I just want
Yeah,
to
I don't
bring
have
it
the
to your
letter yet.
attention. Yeah, that she would like to have it, like, I think she says, within 10 days, I believe.
Yep, it's 10 business days. Yeah, so I'll be in contact with her.
Okay, we're all eager to hear
Okay.
the results of that testing. Thank you.
Just to be clear, that pursuant to the results being submitted to the town, 10 days would begin, you're looking for the results, the analytical results of the testing.
Right.
So it wouldn't be 10 days from the request, it's got to be within 10 days that we actually have the information. We don't have a report that I'm aware of. The
Okay.
testing would have to be
They were just out there
completed.
today, yeah. Hopefully you'll have it shortly. Yeah, but okay.
I'm sure that it will be referenced at the town meeting a week from Monday. But I apologize for speaking without getting the chair's recognition.
Any other questions, comments?
Peter McManus, follow up on that. I'd like to see those results before town meeting. Is that, can that be possible, or?
I have no clue, Smart's managing the contract, so they'd be the people to approach. That's not, it's not an effort that's ongoing through my office or the selectmen. That was the contract with Smart. Mike Kopinski, who's the chair, would be the person you want to contact.
Okay.
I can certainly let them be aware of the requests. Any other public input before we get started? Hearing none, the second item on the agenda is chairman's comments. The chair is gone. I have no comments, so we can move right on to item 3, which is the meeting minutes. And Maureen, you gave us some revised meeting minutes today. I noticed where one of the changes were. Can you just summarize what the other ones were?
Yes, on the one with my second set, Hale School Library, I hadn't changed that in the line below. It said town building.
Yeah.
And at 6:55, I had a colon, semicolon instead of colon.
Yeah.
And then on the revised minutes of the 12th, there was a motion that I hadn't written correctly regarding the vote for Lake Boone. So I just rewrote that properly. That is all that was on that one.
Does anyone on the board have any comments or edits to the minutes?
Nope, I was good with them.
No, I've reviewed them and fine with them.
Yep, thank you very much.
Can we have 2 motions on this, because I will recuse myself on the May one?
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of July 12, 2016 as written and amended. Here.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You have a second motion on the May 2nd minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of May 2nd, 2016 as written.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, may I have the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain. Thank you. Okay. So the next item is a discussion and vote with the Finance Committee to appoint a Nashoba Regional School District Audit Advisory Committee representative. Anyone from the Finance?
Peter.
Peter, you want to come up and this first, or do you just want to do it from there?
Do it from the cheap seats if you'd like.
I don't have a lot to say. We're happy with the proposed appointment and have voted such.
Okay.
Can you mention who the appointment is for the audience?
Mr. Hagopian.
Madam Clerk, with your permission, how long, said, was it about, it's been 10 years? Is that roughly the time frame that he's been doing this?
I go
Yes.
back
That's an open
5 to
question.
6 years, and it's been at least that entire time. Prior to that.
Sorry.
No, I wasn't trying to interrupt
Yep.
this distinguished chair of our Finance Committee. I just wanted to be put in line after he spoke.
Oh, okay.
But having heard Mr. McManus, maybe I can help. Henry Hagopian has been the audit advisory representative for at least 10, I think maybe 12 years, since I first talked him into doing it when I was back on the school committee. And I'm pleased to see that the Finance Committee is continuing to be satisfied with his work as the audit advisory representative. Do you have a better handle on the?
I'm agreeing with you, amazingly.
I would like to know why everyone has to preface
Every
every time they agree with me with amazing or astounding. Yes.
I agree with you.
I am the town fool. I welcome it.
You set yourself up.
So that's it. Henry's a finance professional. He's been doing this since, I believe, he was the first one that was on the audit committee, because there wasn't one prior to his doing it. And
Yeah.
he also served a couple of years on the finance committee before that, as I recall.
That's right.
I believe it was first organized and created, coming out of the districts, going under the direction and control of what was called the Finance Advisory Board, which was directed by DUR, and that's because the district had been running improper deficits for a number of years, and I'd served the liaison to that FAB, to the audit group, so whenever that was, and it's been some time, that was the motivation behind it.
Mr. Burke?
I just want to know if our representative from the school committee has any thoughts on Mr. Hagopian's continued
I'm
work.
happy that he's raised his hand and willing to step forward and willing to commit for another year. I think that's admirable effort on his part, and I welcome him in doing so.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Clerk, I'd just like to, on behalf of, I think, of the board, in light of all of the length of service that he has done, just commend his service and express our thanks to Mr. Hagopian for past service and again, agreeing to go forward another year.
That's an excellent comment. Thank you.
Would you care for a motion?
Would you like to make the motion then?
I would
That's fine.
be happy to. In a joint appointment with the Finance Committee, I move to reappoint Henry Hagopian to the Nashoba Regional School District Audit Advisory Committee to serve a one-year term ending June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous.
We do a roll call vote for that,
Oh, I don't know.
the joint appointment, just to be official.
Thank you.
Okay. And call for a roll call.
We'll have a roll call vote whenever you start.
Yes.
Don't you need to say your name and then yes?
Ryan.
No, you call and.
I think Maureen knows Ryan.
You call Mr. Ryan.
All right, I'm getting educated here.
That's all right, this is.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
and do I say Ms. Hegeman? Yes. And would you like to?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, are we done then on that one? I've only been on this board for a month or so. Okay. The next item.
And you were promised you wouldn't have to do this.
I was promised that.
Politicians promise.
And the next item on the agenda is a discussion and vote to sign the September 2016 State Primary Warrant with our
I'm
town
hoping
clerk.
Maureen has the 2 copies, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be here.
Okay.
So she has some 2 copies.
Invite the clerk.
Would you like to come up?
Sure.
Do you need this to refer to?
No, okay. No. This is just a standard process that the chief executive officers of each town has to sign the warrants before we can post them for the state primaries and for any of the state elections. So this is a formality. And the primary is going to be on Thursday,
What?
September 8th. It was originally scheduled for, I think, September 20th, but there was, under the federal election law, we need 45 days prior to an election to send out absentee vote ballots to the overseas citizens and military. And in order to make that deadline, the legislature moved the primary earlier into September. So that, and actually yesterday, we sent the primary ballots to our overseas citizens and under, throughout the country. They've all sent out their ballots and stuff for, I mean, if anybody has a primary in September. So,
Madam Clerk.
yes, sir.
I'm clerk of the board.
We're both clerks.
Madam Clerk, who is chairing tonight in her,
Madam Chair.
in her back.
Gosh.
Madam Chair, I move that the board accept September 8, 2016 state election warrant as presented by the town clerk on July 26, 2016.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion?
What happens if we don't sign it?
Well, I don't
asked
know,
that once
I
before.
think I'm gonna have to post it anyway. I don't know. You know, Tom,
Yeah, I
Declare
I don't wanna
martial-
go there.
Declare martial
Just do
law.
it.
All right, just curious.
I will tell you, you do not have to sign the Minuteman-wide district warrant for that
That's
election.
good.
It's run under different rules and different regulations, and I was at a clerk's meeting today with the district, with the 16 towns, to talk about that. We'll keep you informed, maybe at a future meeting, to tell you how that's all gonna happen, because different hours.
Well, thank you very much for working so hard on both of these elections.
I really, elections is one of the things that I have the most fun with, but also it's very stressful, because I don't want Stow to be Ohio or Florida.
We don't have hanging chads anymore.
No, but we could all have different things going on. But anyway, so thank
Anyway,
you for
any
through this.
further discussion on this motion?
Nope.
May I, all in favor?
Aye.
And do we just sign it
Sign
right
it.
now?
Yeah,
Do you
and then
wanna
we'll
start
get it
that?
posted, the
Both
cons-
copies? Or
Yes,
just-
do both, just if something happens to one.
Okay.
I've got another one here too if you want.
Oh, you do?
How do you-
Uh,
how many we got floating around?
I just need two.
So there's two right?
Yeah, because I'll just run one through the copier, but in case it gets mangled, I have a second one.
Thank you, and we all wish you
Sure.
such a speedy recovery.
Oh, yes, thank you. It's coming, slow but sure. Not fast enough for me, but it's there.
Tough time of year.
Yeah. Well, the haying, we're not doing a lot of haying at the farm because it can't grow much, so.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
So that,
You gonna be able to make it up if the rains come end of August, September?
we might get a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. But if you drive by the farm, you can see that whole section is just brown,
Mm.
just awful. But anyway.
run irrigation.
One
and
other
from the
plug while
river.
I am on the Stow TV, we're always looking for more people interested in assisting at elections, especially in November. So if you're interested, just give us a call or drop us an email or stop by the office, and we'll do trainings and get people involved.
So do you ever have evening hours? I know this week is a short hours.
Actually, Friday, we are there till 8 o'clock to doing the voter registration for
Okay.
the town meeting. And then
Okay.
we'll have another one August 18th or 19th for the primary.
Okay, so
So-
people can come speak after
Yeah,
hours,
yeah,
after work hours,
yeah.
they can come talk to you
Yeah,
this
sure,
Friday?
sure.
Okay,
Sure.
Great.
Or just give a call anytime. Debbie can answer the questions. Debbie.
414514. No, what is the number?
Yeah, 4514 extension 1 or 5034 is direct.
Okay.
And the added thing is Deb Scythe, as of July 1st, was, I promoted her to assistant town clerk.
Oh. Okay.
All righty, thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you, Linda.
Give her our congratulations.
Or condolences, I'm not sure which one. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
All right, the next item on the agenda is to discuss and then vote on the August 8th special town meeting articles. There are 4 of those, and we have them in our packet. Because I would like to recommend that because the Foxborough Road parcels, the chairman of SMOT is out of town, and the chair of this board is out of town. I think he's as far away, while staying within the United States as he can be, that we move at least those 2, unless other people have other comments on the first 2, until the 8th, and we have an ability to meet before the actual town meeting.
Madam Clerk, if I might just opine on that. I would agree with you for the reasons you state. However, that meeting it's a hasty meeting called just prior to town meeting. We meet at 6:30 in the Hale School Library. In the years that I've been on the board, we hardly ever have any public present, not that they would be welcome, but that normally people aren't thinking that. And the other point is that the public will have no inkling as to what the board's position might be if we don't have some discussion on it tonight. Might I suggest we could at least discuss kind of among ourselves as a sense of the meeting? It's
Yeah, the
entirely
sense
up
of the
to you.
meeting is
And then we
good,
can
right.
come back and offer.
I just don't, if there's some questions that the SMOT chair can answer that we won't get tonight,
Mhm.
I would hate to be misinformed in taking
Mhm.
a vote. Mr. Berger.
Yes, I am, just as our permanent, or current chair, I'm guided by the, thoughts of our chair pro tem. I have no problems discussing it, but in addition to not having SMOT here represented and not having a full complement of my colleagues on the board here tonight, there seemed to be some additional work. I mean, this has all been done very hastily. There's some studies that seem to be completed, but we don't have the results on. So I think that's another reason reinforcing the thought that a final decision be made on August 8th, and even if there isn't a whole lot of public comment and public input, certainly the town meeting members who attend will hear our decision when the matter comes up at town meeting.
And if I might, it's kind of analogous, Peter, to sometimes Finance Committee meets because information is late arriving on certain articles at town meeting. You have had meetings just before town meeting at which you arrive at your recommendations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could. We're facing the same issue because of the shortened time frame here, having issues getting a quorum. We're unable to meet tonight. We were told when we had to have the public hearing, which was the exact same time that everyone was down here talking to you, so nobody came up there. Kathy Safari, not on these
Yeah.
articles. Unable to meet tonight, Mike's out of town. So we're planning to, have a full discussion of it at that same time.
It's
So Mike's
6:30.
supposed to be
It's-
talking to you and to us. That's our only opportunity.
Well, can we, I don't know, I'm not being,
So, I don't know.
can we
As
do
you
ours
see
at
fit, and
6?
we'll follow the lead, but at least some discussion.
Or have a
would be
joint
helpful.
meeting? I don't know what the process is.
Bill, we could post a meeting earlier to allow.
Well, I was going to say that we've posted meetings as early as 6 o'clock on a meeting night if folks could get there at 6:15. So that we're flexible
Yeah.
to the degree that we can get a quorum there. I think it's also important to note, and perhaps Courtney can verify, speaking about unsettled business, it might be that the CPC will be meeting between now and town meeting with respect to Article 3 and matters that might not be finished to such, and that information I think would be helpful to the Finance Committee as well as the Board of Selectmen before they take a vote. Is that,
We're trying to we have posted meetings for Thursday or Friday nights, and hopefully we can get a quorum on those nights.
I was just going to say.
and so then perhaps coming out of that meeting for Monday morning, if you could provide a summary of the discussion and/or any votes taken substantively that affect what is in the warrant and might help direct a motion. So I would argue for a number of reasons, we just leave Article 3 alone for now. You won't have, what I'm saying to you is you would discuss this evening without having probably
Right.
some substantive
Okay.
information that
So,
would
we
certainly
can
have an
suggest
impact on how you would vote.
skip it.
It's never stopped us before.
Well, feel free then. I'm not part of that vote, so
Madam-
you do what you like.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Burke?
I do think, though, that we have a green light on Article 1, which is the change order to Palm Pacific School Building, Fire Station, Community Center renovation project construction contract, and the reauthorization, or excuse me, the specific authorization for, help me, Mr. Town Administrator, because I'm looking for your notes.
I'd be happy to explain if you want to take a vote on that. I included a summary, and this is basically
Yep.
reiterating what I've said several times before on this matter, but I will, just for the public, say it again tonight, that Article 1 is essentially the building committee attempting to honor a commitment they made at some public forums leading up to the special town meeting in February of 15, related to the scope of the construction services that were going to be included in the base bid, and attempting to, and I'm giving my own version of it, but Tom's here and he can also weigh in because he's been involved on a number of, I think, all of the respective committees that it evolved through. But on the Oversight Committee, we were hopeful, because of the outcome of the earlier votes where 2 of the 3 projects failed. As you recall, there were 3 separate capital building committees assigned the task of looking at designing perhaps a standalone fire station, an ad reno to the existing library, and a new, what began as a council on aging center and then evolved into a community center. They stood alone separately through 2 early votes, and the only one that had affirmative votes at both town meeting and the attendant debt exclusion ballot was the community center. Fire station was a close second, just under, and the library didn't come close with regards to affirmative vote. So the Board of Selectmen felt compelled to redirect the efforts, consolidate committees, because there was too much money on the table, and that was the outcome of the votes, which was too much money all at one time, see what we can do to space these, so to plan them out. Oversight Committee was formed, I chaired it, we went through it, and early on, we established a $10 million cap, not to exceed limit if possible, to try to provide what we could. And what we could, in the end, is this proposed joint subdivision of interior space of the Pompano School for a community center and fire station. It was based on that cap and early indications on our cost estimates that we couldn't do everything we wanted to at Pompo and stay under the 10 million. So the committee decided what it would do is hold off on replacing the roof, which was the single biggest ticket item with regard to money. That estimate at that time was $700,000 to $800,000 from Edward Jones, and so the committee decided we'd hold it out, go with a base bid, see what we got. The building committee got some damn good bids when it came in, provided almost $1.7 million under the cap on the authorized bid in February, and so now what the committee would like to do is go back, and because it had stated publicly, they're not at the town meeting, that they would hold that out, they would like to go back now, and because it makes sense, in my opinion, for cost effectiveness and all the rest, we could limp through for a number of years perhaps on the existing roof, but with the money already authorized, time value and all the rest of it, they want to ask the, go to the town meeting voters and see if they wouldn't agree without authorizing any more money, but under the amount they've already authorized to get this change order.
Mr. Wright.
Just to add a little bit to it, what we're looking for now is $560,000 versus the 800 or so that we had before. And basically, we've got new information, better information than we had from when we started it. Is it possible that we could limp through with pieces of it? Yes, but the consensus of the committee is to go ahead and do the whole thing to prevent future problems from happening. We'll have a 20-year warranty on this, and we'll be done with it. Might we save a few dollars or put off spending a few dollars for a couple of years? Possibly, but we've just invested quite a bit of money into this project, and like I say, the consensus is to spend the money. Technically, we feel, the committee knows, basically, from a legal opinion, that we could just go ahead and do this. However, we all felt very strongly that we had specifically taken it off the table. Therefore, we want to go back to town meeting to basically explain it and keep it totally transparent. So, we don't want anybody second guessing what we were doing and that we were just spending leftover money because we had it, which is absolutely not the case. But we've had new information, and it seems like, the right thing to do.
Mr. Hawks?
Yes, it makes eminent good sense to me. You don't want to risk something that might give out a little bit sooner and jeopardize a lot of the work that's been done inside there, so I totally support that. And just for the sake of discussion and perhaps moving this along,
Yes.
I move to support Article 1, change order to Pompasiticus School Building, Fire Station, Community Center renovation project construction contract.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Only to commend the building committee and especially the town administrator for their shrewd management of the construction bid process that will allow us to get this new roof almost for free, in a sense, because it's under what we had originally authorized for the entire project.
You don't want me to argue with you, but it ain't almost free. 560,000 ain't almost free.
I did, perhaps almost was not the right word, but in a sense, it is free because it's money we had already appropriated.
We don't need to appropriate anymore.
It's still not free.
I think more importantly, what it is it was stated in the warrant and the motions with regard to this project. On the design phase, it was $10 million that was established in writing as being the not-to-exceed cap that we were striving for. And then when it came to the February special town meeting vote in 15, $9.2 million was established as being the upper end for the construction-related work. So the public knew what they were voting for on the numbers. So what we're able to do now, without spending not only up to that amount, but as I stated here, we'll still have a 5% unexpended balance when we're done of over $500,000 from the numbers that we established in writing up front for total design and project cost and separately construction cost. Both of those get honored, and you still have $500,000 left.
I just want to commend the process and the committee and the town administrator. I withdraw my comments about free. Maybe it just seems free.
Just one more comment, Madam Clerk. When I thought back to the town meeting vote, when all three projects, by various means, did not advance, and what we were looking at then, the price of the standalone fire station and on the present location was more money than what we ended up renovating. Is that correct?
Correct.
That was around 10 million,
It was probably 12 to 13. when we
12 to
got done.
13 million, just for the fire station.
Just for the fire station.
And then we wouldn't have had all of the space that we were privileged to tour the other day.
Well, in fact, the design of the standalone fire station was several million more than we've spent with less square footage
Yep.
that would have been built
Right.
just for the fire station. And so you throw in another 12,000 square feet for a community center, plus a larger fire station for less money.
Well,
And the ability to expand it.
And we have 10,000 square feet in the building.
And we would have, if that vote had passed, and we would have been in that fire station, and we still would have had a white elephant building at Pompo with no use, that was gonna cost $1 million to destroy it, as I recall.
The sweetest thing about all of this for me, and I've been doing it a long time, is that a building that we were told had the useful life as a school had been expired. There was no other use for that building. It was abandoned. And we've turned it into productive use. I mean, if you think about the alternatives, a huge cost of demolishing the building, and because of all the regulations, environmental regs and union labor regs, it was a huge sum of money to tear it down or to continue to spend money each year doing nothing with it, but you have to keep the systems operational. And so neither of those were cost-effective or efficient long-term plans. I'll tell you, it's hard to do better than that.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
So in retrospect, the project's going down to the seat at town meeting turns out to be a win-win, a blessing and a win. Thank you.
So, after all that discussion, are we ready to vote? All
Yes.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, are we ready to discuss Article 2, the purchase of Boone Road South 8th?
Madam Clerk, this is an entirely arbitrary exercise on the Board of Selectmen's part, for your information. There was no requirement that the board vote on any of these. It has been the practice of the board to offer the opportunity to any member of the board, should he or she wish, to bring forth the idea or have a discussion, should we entertain a motion or position on any particular article. So that's just a background. There is no requirement that we do so.
But town meeting members appreciate hearing what the Board of Selectmen's opinion is on these articles.
I can't argue that. I used to make that point myself when I was sitting up in the cheap seats.
Okay. So should we progress on this one?
Article 2, I think this is, I don't have any information on this as far as I know.
Okay. Bill, can you summarize Article 2 for the board?
Not cogently, I couldn't. I've not been involved in it either. This is the Conservation Commission with other conservation-minded groups and the CPC, which I think is involved. So perhaps Courtney, from a monetary standpoint, might be able to.
The Conservation Commission brought a proposal to the Community Preservation Committee to partner with the state on, there's a required match when the state buys an agricultural preservation restriction on a piece of land. And the state requires that the town match 10% of the total cost of the preservation restriction. In this case, that is $530,000. So the town was requested to contribute at least $53,000. The Conservation Commission found that, of which I'm also a member, found that on hearing the proposal from the representative of the state involved in the process. This property is very high-quality agricultural land, and so the state was willing to pay more per acre than they typically do by an order of half again. And that made the Conservation Commission feel that it was a great idea to partner well with them and to pay more than our required 10%. Also, just reminding everybody on the topic of agricultural preservation restrictions, this puts land in a perpetual agricultural use. It's a deed restriction program that buys the building rights from the land and puts a deed restriction that the land will remain in agricultural use. So the CPC voted 7-1 to support this, to the tune of, I believe, $150,000. And I cannot tell you which bucket we took it from tonight.
Through you.
This is unreserved.
Thank you.
Through you, Courtney, this is for identification purposes, part of the honey pot operation.
I believe it is.
It's east,
I don't know,
West End.
I don't know the properties that well. I'm one of the few
Mhm.
residents of Stow who doesn't go out and pick apples.
You don't pick apples. But, the key distinction you make, and then I'm sure Brian will elucidate a little more, is that this differs from the long discussions we've had about Chapter 61A, which is revocable. This is not.
Correct.
We purchased the development rights, so that is a lockup for agricultural purposes, as you said, in perpetuity. Thank you.
Which is great, because then
Yep.
that saves the town money.
It could be changed to other agricultural uses, but not to
mandated.
recreation or some other purpose.
That's true. So any agricultural use, but apparently the soils are great for other things than orcharding, or vegetables.
Yeah.
Basically, used for animal husbandry.
Further elucidation by the chair of what the chair of the CPC and what my colleague Mr. Hawks has said is completely unnecessary. They made it very clear. I think it might help just to tell our friends and neighbors in Stow that we're talking about the piece that's on the south side of Lake Boone as you're coming up towards Route 62.
Of Lake Boone Road.
Lake Boone Road.
Boone
No,
Road.
excuse me, Boone Road, Boone Road.
Yes.
South or east or what, that runs,
So it's
The Hudson side.
the Hudson
Yes,
the
it's
Hudson
the
side.
west side.
as you go up the hill.
As you go up the hill,
To Crown of Boone Road, it's on the left.
going towards Route 62.
Yes.
Hope I didn't make it muddy.
A lot of peach trees up there, without peaches.
I suppose what I'd like to do is, I'm not prepared to make a decision on this tonight. I've got more information than I did, but I think what I'd like to do is hear what the CPC and the community, has to say at town meeting about it. So I'm really not prepared to make a...
Are you asking that we defer this motion, or that you would prefer to not,
Well, there is no motion
well,
at the moment.
defer making the
Yes.
motion
Yeah,
as opposed to?
I prefer to hear what,
Yes.
where we're talking about, call it having a
Okay.
consensus.
Okay,
I
fine.
figured I'd throw that on the table to say that I'm not ready to make a decision on this tonight, but
I
like to
So
see what,
how does one
see what the
procedurally do
presentation
this?
is.
Just say
no.
no,
There's no action required.
no action required on
We
Article
discussed it, we
2?
choose
As
at
long
this
as
point
everybody
not to.
agrees. If somebody wanted to make a motion, but I just figured I'd throw it out for my thoughts.
I think I know, especially with the chair of the CPC here explaining it, I think we know enough, but in deference to my colleague, Mr. Ryan, I won't move. I'll take no action as well.
That's fine.
Yeah. with the chair's permission, unless the chair is going to call for a motion.
Well, I'm of the opinion that this is something that we shouldn't miss. But if town meeting is your recommendation collectively, that town meeting will just say at town meeting that there had been no vote taken, then I guess we can do that. Otherwise, we'd call for a vote and it wouldn't be unanimous, because you would prefer not to vote.
I prefer not to.
I prefer not to do so.
We-
I don't think there'd be a second.
We do have that 6 o'clock meeting before town meeting, and I have a feeling that all three articles that we're not acting upon tonight will be taken up.
Okay, so.
It will be, it's a standard agenda item for, that is the primary purpose of having our selectmen's meeting before, is to be able to get together and vote on things that you didn't feel comfortable voting, or deciding not to vote, or, I mean, that's the first item on the agenda. And if that's all you get done, that'd be fine too.
So no action then on Articles 2, 3, and 4 this evening?
That's my view of reality.
Oh, Mr. Peters. comment.
Could I follow up on that? Would that be okay?
Yes.
Interrupt, but, I'm wondering where the numbers come from. I don't know, I'll go through. There's a $530,000 number. Is that what we're gonna get from the state? Or is that the
That is the state's assessment of
value of the
of the
restriction?
value of the restriction. So the appraisal for the property was apparently a very conservative evaluation of 600,000, sort of being considered as 2 estate lots. Those of you that know the property better, I don't know if there's an existing home there already.
There's
2
one.
additional. So
One or two.
it would be, it sounds like a fairly low appraisal for fairly flat, almost 20 acres. So the restriction was valued at 530, and the state's portion of that is 372 and some other bits.
Okay.
This may,
And then I did this.
Mr. Burke, go ahead.
I'll defer to Mr. Hawks, but, all right,
go ahead.
thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to ask, maybe it makes sense, because I know CPC voted on this about a month ago, and I think I think it's a great idea, and once all the facts come out, I'm sure there'll be complete unanimity, not only in the board, but at town meeting to support this item. But what I'm suggesting is that maybe we could have a brief presentation at town meeting where we have all these facts and numbers.
I'm sure there will be.
I believe the Conservation Commission will be presenting this.
All that will do is, we won't have a position as a board unless we choose to do so
Beforehand.
at 6 o'clock that night.
Okay.
If you could shoot it to us early. Thanks.
Just because there's one other question that I don't know, this may not be directed properly to anybody here tonight. Does the there is a residential building on that same property. How is that affected by this? In other words, can that be sold separately? Is the lot on which the house sits excluded from this? Does anybody know? If not, we wait and
We
find
can
out.
get
on-
that
on
information.
our
I
Yeah.
side.
understand
I don't
it
have
sits
it.
the entire parcel, including the house.
I believe that the way, at least,
I
I
have
think
one question.
Shelburne went, is, they can do agricultural stuff. They basically just can't turn it into house lots. You can't start building a lot of other dwellings on there.
I'm talking about the one house that's there. Is that impacted by this?
Well, it just means that they can't build other houses on that piece of property. And that's I believe that's the only outcome.
There's two questions going on here.
Yeah.
So I think bottom line is that if we can get that data of what the parcel is, what does it include? and what are the numbers, that would be helpful on the 8th. I think, I'm sorry.
Thank you for your indulgence. As I said, we haven't had an opportunity to, although Kathy did come to our, and I thought I understood it, but now I'm not so sure. So all this really is independent of whatever might happen to the land in terms of ownership the day after we vote. Is there a proposed transaction? Is this what started all of this? Is that germane to our decision here?
My understanding of the meeting, and I heard it secondhand, is when this property is being sold, but subject to a deed restriction. And again, you know, I'm going on memory that's almost 60 years old and 30 days past. But what that suggests to me is that once the property is sold, it's going to be sold subject to this deed restriction, kind of like a 60B situation, except there's no option. It's once this deed restriction is placed on the land, registered with the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds, it can only be used for agricultural use in perpetuity. And what's a farm without a farmhouse?
So if I have this right, there was a state assessment of $600,000. Then there was a state valuation of the restriction of $530,000. So the remaining value of the land is $70,000. Is that correct? I realize it's a little outside of our decision, but I'm trying to understand it. Is that?
Now I'd rather, yeah, I don't have the answer to that. Let's me put it that way.
I don't either.
And maybe we can get that.
I could make another stab at it, if you like, try to make it green. My understanding is there's
Appreciate it.
an appraisal of 600,000, which is probably an independent appraisal, the value, the development value. The state chose 530,000 as the value of the building rights that they are purchasing by putting agricultural, if the agricultural preservation is put on this. So the balance there is 70,000. That will ultimately be the value of the property. So that
So it
would
could
be
be
the
sold
sell,
for
that
like
would, it would be
70,000.
sold for 70,000, for instance. And the other numbers are about the state's part versus what the remainder is. And although the state has said they will offer 372,000 and some change, we've said we'll offer 150,000, and that doesn't make up your whole 500. So
It's awfully close there.
yes, so the owner won't get the full, appraised value. They'll get a good portion of it, which was the intent.
The state requirement is 10%, which would be 53,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that more clear?
That's more clear, yes, thank you.
You're getting a preview of what questions may come up on the 8th.
I'm confident that Ms. Sarah will make
We'll
an
have
excellent
all that
presentation.
information, that's right.
That will be clearer than mine.
Yeah.
No, it's been very helpful. Thanks.
Do you have others? Because that'd be helpful.
Article 2? No.
On Article 2, yeah.
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet. All right. We have decided to not take a vote tonight on Article 3, I believe.
Yes.
But do we want to discuss any part of it at this time?
I suggested that earlier. I withdraw my suggestion.
Withdraw that suggestion.
There's too much information that may be provided to us between now and the 8th.
Okay, I would recommend the same for Article 4. Unless
Fine
others
by me,
feel
I
differently.
agree.
Okay. So then we don't have to take a vote on no action, is that
No,
correct?
not till-
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the town administrator.
Me? Well, the first item on the activities report, I summarized orally earlier in the meeting. So I would like to mention two other items. The first is that this relates to the Nashoba Regional School District information. During the time that the district had an interim superintendent in place, and in fact, I think actually he's still, even with the work of the new superintendent beginning already, that Kurt is still around to help that transition period with the new superintendent. And I support that approach because myself and my counterparts have been meeting with Kurt as interim superintendent, and now I had my first meeting with Brooke Clenchy, is that the pronunciation? Who's the recently appointed and now seated behind the desk under superintendent. Had a meeting on Monday, and the purpose of the meetings that we've been having with the interim superintendent, now transitioning to the full-time permanent superintendent, is that there's matters affecting more than one, perhaps up to 3 of the district towns with regard to capital projects that the facility manager who abruptly resigned, is that proper?
Departed, I understand, for other work.
Yeah, so, and it appears to the interim superintendent, now the new superintendent, that there's work to be done in trying to fill in some gaps with capital needs, facility needs, infrastructure needs in each of the 3 towns, whether it affects the building or sewer or water, building systems like boilers and other things. And the files are, evidently, it's not obvious from the files that have been looked at, facility management files, what, if anything, was being done or not done with regard to research on the boilers, DEP regs with regard to water and wastewater and other things. And so trying to fill in that gap, we're helping her along with, and I think the district has recently appointed a new facility manager who's at this moment beginning to.
It's my understanding he may be visiting 1 day a week and will be appearing full-time in mid-August.
So we're going to attempt, and I think the part that we play in it is first they identify and define through partial files that there may have been ongoing project development work that was started by the facility manager, though not perhaps finished, but the gaps are such that it's hard to tell exactly where he was with regard to some of these infrastructure issues. So I think they wanted to alert us to the fact that there were some issues that had to be addressed in all 3 of the towns. And I think also for us to provide input that might help fill in the gaps. And I wanted to let you know that I've been part of those meetings. Don't know that I'll be going to them weekly because the list of prospective development projects predominate more in the other 2 towns than they do here, thankfully. And at the same time, with the facility management department that we're building now, it's coming to you, so we're a little further along. I'm able to provide information on the current conditions of the various systems. As you know, the lease agreement provides complete care, custody, control, and management of our property to the district. Now, there are provisions in there where we can step in if we happen to think that proper capital improvements are not being made and other matters. And it's also true that we have language, a provision in the lease agreement, which is common to all 3, which says if the district has capital projects and they define capital projects using what was Stow's and still is Stow's definition of capital. I participated in the process of developing it, so we used a standard which is our 10,000 plus depreciated value of 3+ years. So that's how we define it in there. And make a long story short, I've basically reached out. We're doing our own assessment here. It's nearly completed. I think we're in good shape. I'm waiting for the state to provide us our annual boiler condition reports. I'm not sure that they knew that they had them, so I've shared that with the district to say, look, we may not be able to find the information that you need on your files or on your computer, but we can independently go. So we've reached out. I asked Craig Martin, our facility manager, to contact DEP directly, reach out to Whitewater, and it's the same for water and wastewater that the district uses, and say, look, do we have any research that aren't there, that should be there? Are there any notices that we've received or should have? So we got clearance from DEP just today saying we're good on all of our wells. The other thing that spares us some is that we've gone to gas from oil for both Hale School, and when we went to Hale School, if you recall, it was the fire chief that brilliantly decided that we'd take up the underground storage tank, and rather than just clean it out and abandon it, we've now made it basically a fire protection cistern, so it's full of water and it's there to help us fight fires and that's under our control through the fire chief. So that cert and inspection takes place through us, so that's our job. The boilers, I'm waiting for the reports. We're clear on the new septics. Both septic systems are good, but because they're under 10,000 gallons, we're responsible at the Board of Health and not the state, because of gallons per day being less than 10. That's where the trigger point is, and so those are ours. Check to the Board of Health with there. So I think at this point, for those systems, building systems issues that might be evident in the other towns, we don't have those. But anyway, that, just wanted to let you know that we're working on that, but we're going to check for ourselves to make sure if there are things that should have been done or weren't, or there were notifications missed, we'll catch them, but evidently they weren't here. And the last piece is the MPO tip. I'll be riding with Representative Kate Hogan. As you know, the letter went in under our signatures. To back that up, we have a working group meeting with the state to try to, emphasize the importance of getting the Gleasondale Bridge project to construction. We're into engineering, the money's there, but everybody's now fighting for getting queued up in line to get the construction promised in the next 4 years. So going in Thursday, any of you, you're invited as well if you want to go in. I'm riding with Kate. There's room in the car if you want to go. If not, you can leave it to us and we'll see what we can do. And I won't use any of your names. Willfully trying to disparage anybody's character, but if it's money on the line, I'm just saying.
If it will help this town, get that bridge.
I have a card,
You may do what you want to my name.
I'll let you know how that goes.
Any other questions on those reports?
Thanks for meeting again with the new superintendent.
So Don is going to go on Thursday as our MPO liaison.
Turns out we are not liaising on that.
Oh, we're not?
At all.
Oh, okay.
Because MPO has municipal memberships. The closest one to us is Bedford. So while we have a great interest in the deliberations of that agency, we don't have a vote. So we therefore don't have a liaison representative.
Okay.
I'm sure, well, we can bring that up under liaison if you want.
No, that's
But
okay,
that's
okay.
the shorthand
Yeah, yeah.
answer to that.
Okay.
I misspoke at the last meeting when I said I thought we had an elected representative.
Thank you for that clarification.
We'll get the message across to the right people. That's all it goes.
The next item on the agenda is liaison reports. Ms. DeVere?
Madam Chair, this may not be entirely familiar to our Chair Pro Tem, but at this time of night, it's usually customary to let the town administrator make his long trip back to Orange.
Me?
Yeah, okay.
But if there's no other questions or
However,
reasons to keep-
as part of my liaison report, I wanted to ask him to hang around for a couple minutes.
Then why don't you go first on your report, and then Bill can
Oh,
take over.
nice transition. I like that.
No. basically, a couple weeks ago, I was talking to Chief of Police, and part of the reason I wanted Bill here is because it shows how he handles the town and how all of our town departments work very well together. But the chief was telling me about the emergency generator up at the police station. And basically what happened is it needed some serious repairs. He didn't have the money to do it. And what he did is he ended up talking to the highway department, the building inspector, he talked to Scott Morse, fire chief, fire captain Benoit, and then Jim Rogers, who I believe is probably one of the other firefighters who...
He's a mechanic.
He's a mechanic, or at the highway, one or the other. But basically, when Chief Bosworth got that group together, they found, all those guys worked together to get the generator fixed in a very short period of time, putting in a temporary generator in case anything really went wrong, and saved the town, I think, in excess of $10,000 by all of them working together. And, so they're really, it's just one of those things I really like to, when I see that kind of stuff, and, none of these guys, all these guys could have said, this isn't my job. Probably with the exception of our facilities manager, but everybody kicked in. And really, it was Scott Morse, Chief Joe Landry, J.P. Benoit, he's an electrician in addition to being a fire captain, and so he ended up doing some of the wiring, and then Craig Martin pulled everything together, and then Jim Rogers ended up working on it also. So I'd like to kind of give a shout out to them, and really, because of the way that Bill handles all the day-to-day stuff, he makes that possible. So I wanted an attaboy to him, too.
That's can-do attitude, and that's what it means. And for those who have it, you can't teach it. And for those who don't, it's hard to get it across. But we get a lot of those.
Yep. So.
Yes, I think it's on-the-ground definition of what the term that I've gathered from you lately. It's a force multiplier. You have all of these good folks, and they're all willing to pitch in and go above and beyond. So it's a tribute to all of them, but it's the attitude that you have fostered, and it's much appreciated.
Well, and I learned it in a special place in the service, so, and when you need to, and sometimes it was a matter of importance when you didn't have the resources and the limitations, you had no time, and you had to make some decisions quickly, and that's when you can see it here in this work. And those guys have it. They didn't, they might call me to ask and all the rest, but they're gonna do it. And I always tell them, you do it, we'll worry about it later if something happens.
That's great.
And I'd also like to thank, Chief Bosworth for bringing it to my attention, and, it's, and to our attention. So it's, it was just a feel-good story all the way around. And
So do you just want to say for the public that all the parties' names again, so that everybody's got that?
Scott Morse, who's our highway assistant superintendent, Chief Joe Landry, our fire chief, J.P. Benoit, who's a fire captain and electrician, Craig Martin, who's our facilities manager, and then Jim Rogers, mechanic
Highway.
at the highway department.
Turns a good wrench.
And
Well, I think that's wonderful. Thanks
So-
very much for sharing that.
and, thank all of them. And, sometimes when sometimes a lot of the public employees get a bad rap, but this just shows that, the kind of crew that we have here in town, and, they're, as Bill said, they're can-do. I've seen them more than once, but this was just a nice formal way of doing it.
It's impressive to watch them work, I'll tell you.
Yep.
May I say something as a town employee? Thank you for saying that about my colleagues and things, but many of those people do those things on a more often, and so the shout out is good, and it's appreciated. appreciate it, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But a lot of people, I mean, like you say, Bill, from the top down, it's that work together, team attitude, get things done, and let's just get it going.
And I might expand that it's not limited to public safety.
No.
That attitude is evident by town employees top to bottom here.
And also the volunteers that we put in, seriously. And,
Yeah.
you know, for people stepping forward and taking that extra time, it is this community that we have, and we're very fortunate.
And to shout out to the public, we need more volunteers. There's a
Exactly.
lot of openings, express your interest and come
And
see
And you
anybody.
can work with great people like these.
Come to meetings like this. All right,
With that,
good night.
have a safe trip home, sir.
Thanks for taking the extra 5 minutes, Bill.
No problem.
Are there any other liaison reports?
Is that, do you have anything else?
That was
It was a good one.
That was mine.
Yep.
Blake's getting stiff here.
Mr. Burke, do you have any liaison reports?
No, I'm sorry, the CPC hasn't met since the last time, and I don't, Courtney, I don't think I'll be able to make the Thursday, Friday meetings that you're trying to put together. I'm going to be in Montana.
Wow, okay. It's a good excuse. Mr. Brooks?
Almost as far as the last.
Only my crossover liaison membership. Since the last meeting, I have been sworn in as a Lake Boone Commission member. The commission has not yet met, but they are scheduled to meet, a posted meeting on August 2. And that will be the first meeting at which I will attend as a member.
All right, thank you. Hearing no other, all right, I have no liaison reports.
Questions on correspondence?
I think we all read or reviewed the correspondence. Does anyone have any questions about that? I know that I noticed the historical sign for Lakewood
Yes.
and Sudbury Road, and I thought that was very interesting, and I guess that's at the Historical Commission now?
Yeah, Lou Helpham will meet at the next historical commission, thinking that you might want the recommendation from historical, their approval, so that will be done and possibly on our next agenda. Lou's always looking out for
That's an
goodies.
acceptance of a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. he found it in
And
the barn.
do we have to agree on the location of where this sign will be?
Yeah,
Or
he
just the
has-
acceptance of it?
He gave us some really good paperwork on it and
Yeah.
what it will look like and what.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Do we accept the gift?
interesting.
Oh, excuse me, I apologize. I did not have the floor. I was
I
not
would-
reading
I
that.
would-
Excuse me.
I run a really bad meeting, don't
Great.
No, we tend to.
you? You all jump around.
I would only point out for the record that the sign is of great historical importance, however, it is misspelled. Lake
The
Boone
E-
has no
E at the end?
E.
Well,
The earliest maps
oh,
of
so
Lake
which is
Boone,
right?
it's
Them?
Boone's Pond, B-O-O-N, because it's named after Matthew Boone,
Ah,
who
right.
had no E in his
But then
name.
sometimes that funny stuff is fun.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I would like to get to the next agenda item, which is adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion?
No, it's
All in
non-debatable.
Non-debatable.
Oh, for goodness sake. It's non-debatable.
If we follow Robert's Rules of Orders, which we don't.
Well, we
All
come
right.
close sometimes.
I think we have a motion and a vote, so we are adjourned. Thank you. Good job.
Good job, very good job.